Hi, y'all. Welcome to your Andale Pues podcast. I am your host, Rose.
And I'm your co-host, Jezebel.
And welcome to your long-awaited episode 1.
How exciting.
I know.
It's finally so here.
Yes.
So much hard work behind the scenes, and
oh my God.
It's exciting.
Stressful, but so much fun.
I know. A lot of navigating like equipment and
oh my God, and learning how
social
to
medias
use
and
these things. I mean, like, I'm not tech savvy whatsoever. This girl is
better.
I'm
but not.
So today we're going to tell you about how this podcast came about.
How we met,
and just get down to the nitty gritty.
Mm-hmm. Just kind of tell you more about like ourselves and what we bring to the table and what the things that we want to share with you, why we're here, and why we think you'll enjoy being a part of this too.
Yeah.
So, I guess you want to tell them, or I could tell them how we met.
Yeah, go ahead.
So she was working at a company and I started working at that company shortly after. Well, no, you had already been there like a year or two.
Oh yeah, I had already been there.
And so when I started, she was just so key in helping me navigate everything because the girl that was supposed to train me quit. She thought I was there to replace her, and that was just not the case.
Cold turkey.
Literally just left. And so like she was such a godsend because it was 2018 and this company was still writing checks.
Oh my God. Torture.
And then everybody would get their regular check, their per diem check, and then welders got an extra check of like their rig pay, and we literally had to put each one in a separate envelope. I mean, it was just insane.
The amount of paper cuts that we received.
Seriously.
They didn't pay us for that.
We'd literally spend, I know we need hazard pay.
I know, right?
Go get it, but like every Thursday, like that's all that we would do is freaking stuff checks. And so we just built a relationship from there, and I feel like from initially when we met anyway, like we just vibed.
Right.
Like it was just an like instant connection, you know? And then turns out we did know each other.
Yeah, we did.
So she had cut my hair years and years before I was pregnant with my first kiddo. And she cut my hair. And it wasn't until she started talking about how she has done hair and does hair on the side that I was just like, yo te conozco, de ahí te conozco. And I had a little espina y no me dejaba en paz. I was like, where do I know this girl from? Well, it turns out that she had cut my hair before.
Yeah. And so we began talking about that, and
formed a friendship. Really is really what it came down to. That even went outside of work, because even when she wasn't working with the company anymore, like we still kept in touch and all the time, and we talked, and it just
we even got in trouble a few times for always being together and chatting it up. But
seriously.
But yeah, so about the podcast, how it came about. So I had been debating on opening my own podcast for many years. I would say about 3 or 4 years. And I have a little notepad where I would just write down some notes, what I would want to talk about, kind of like a little journal. And I would tell my kids, I want to open a podcast. And my kids would always be like, no, Mom, that's weird. You're old. And I'd be like, that's rude.
It's always your own people, dude.
Seriously. So I never really got to it until one day I was on the phone messaging back and forth with Jezebel because we're discussing how she got.
And we're big fans of voice notes. So it was like just voice notes back and forth.
So she got some extensions. That was before I got certified to do extensions. And she had gone for a move up, right?
Yeah, so this was taking it a little bit backwards. Don't want to get the timelines mixed up, but back in the day in 2000 and had to have been like 19 probably, I got extensions with a different hairstylist that, I mean, at first I was happy with, and it was like whatever. But what happened is that on my move up, she flipped them or switched them, or I don't even know how you would describe it, but she put the one that's supposed to go the one that's supposed to go on top, she put on bottom, and then the one that's supposed to go on the bottom, she put on top. And so they looked super choppy.
I mean, there's receipts. Yeah,
we'll insert the picture. I mean, and it was so bad. And so I've never been able to get over it. And so that's like a common theme, with us, where we're just like, I got so bad, and me vieron la pinche cara de pendeja. I think that's why I can't get over it. Is because she just fucking said, like, she didn't admit her mistake.
And it's like she didn't even give a fuck. Like, my thing is the integrity of your hair is my main concern and priority because you're my walking billboard, you know? So when she sent me the pictures, I was like, my jaw hit the floor because it was so bad. Like, you could see the choppiness. Like, right now, those are installed by me and they don't look choppy at all. So they were so bad, and instead of the girl removing them and installing them properly, what she did is just chop it off.
She put the blame on me and said, well, maybe you're just not taking as good care of them as you need to, and they're kind of growing out unevenly with your hair, whatever. But now thinking about it, I'm like, bitch, they don't grow.
Yeah.
My hair grows out. Like,
yeah, no. And she had just moved them up, so that was the bullshit.
Yeah, and so instead of admitting her mistake and being like, hey, let's find another time, we'll make this right, whatever, she just cut my extensions. And so that was like a huge bonding moment for us, because she, as a hairstylist, was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
And then I sent her the pictures of what it looked like before, and she was like, wait, what? She did what?
Yeah.
And so, you know, if you don't use extensions, you don't really know how expensive they are, like, in reality. Like, people tell you, but they're so expensive.
Yeah. And the whole point of this was for you to have length, and she goes and chops it off. Like, that was just like,
I will never forgive her.
I was heartbroken for her, because like, who does that?
Yeah. So we've always like bonded over that. That's always been like our thing too, right? Like a underlying theme of like, you know, my extensions and like how I got. And so we've just built like a really good friendship around that. And I think with that, like that particular day, we were talking about that. This was probably 40 something days ago.
Yeah.
Because we're 7 days out, so 40, probably about 38 days ago that this happened.
Yeah.
So tell them about how like the idea came to you with our voice notes.
So
the aha moment.
We're sending voice notes back to each other and just listening to it, and how we were ranting, and then we made jokes about it, and just, I told her, you know what gets on my nerves? I was like, because she thinks so highly of herself. I was like, but in a mamona way. I was like, because I think highly of myself, but in a humble way. And she said, oh my God, I'm going to quote that on
and it sure
Snap
did. I put it on Snap.
Yeah. And we just laughed about it. And then like literally like a freaking lightning, I was like, oh my God, it dawned on me. And I was like, this is my fucking person. So I remember I was driving to the salon where I work at, and I was like, I'm so early, I'm going to pull over here and have some breakfast. And I did. I had breakfast by myself, and during after I ordered, I literally called Jezebel, and I was like, oh my God, dude, you are my person. And she's like, huh?
I was like, okay, I love you too. Like, she literally just said that you're my person, and I was like, yeah, I love you. But then she like went on to explain.
And then I said, get ready. And I said, I have an idea or something like that. And I said, let's open a podcast together. And she's like, oh my God, for real?
Yes.
I was like, yes. And so yeah, that's how it came about. And like, we went in full throttle with this, like
literally, like I was just like, yeah, that sounds like a great idea, let's do it. And then it's just been like a freaking whirlwind ever since then, trying to get everything done.
It's been a fun journey getting it started. Stressful
as hell. We
are way over our budget, but I don't think we could have done it better.
I don't think so either, because in full transparency, she wanted to launch a lot earlier. Oh yeah. And I was like, absolutely not. And like, there's a lot more to like.
Now I'm like, what was I fucking thinking?
And then she wanted to start talking about it like right away and telling people. I was like, no, bro, we have to work out some things before we like.
I'm very impulsive.
Yeah, and but I'm glad that she had an open mind and would listen to the things that I said, because now, like, even with this episode, like, imagine, you know, and then it's just. The way that things kind of worked out, we made a calendar and we're like, well, let's do this on this day, let's do this on that day, and like the content portion of it. And it has been a lot of work, but and it's funny because when she told me about like, oh, let's start a podcast, immediately was like, yes, but I'll be honest and say like a podcast isn't really something that I had ever thought about. Like, it crossed my mind, but it wasn't something that I was just like, oh, I have to do that and I want to do that.
But because you were already a vlogger on Instagram, like, and your stories are interesting, and what you talked about was interesting. So I was like, seriously, like, this is my fucking person. Like, I don't think anybody in the world, like I have my best friend Annie, like Annie, I love you so much, but there's not nobody that I could have picked better than Jez, because
my heart,
because we just vibe so well, and we have so much to talk about. She and I both have the I said what I said attitude, and I love that because she has no filter, I have no filter, and we're just real, we keep it real.
Yeah. And so even though a podcast had never crossed my mind, when she brought that up, I was like, immediately yes, because I go on rants all the time on Instagram, on Snapchat. Like, I'm the person that gives you the opinion that you didn't ask for. And I'm going to tell you, right? Like, if I watched a show, I'm going to give you a little mini review of what I thought. Right. If I read a book, I'm going to give you a little mini review of what I thought. If I liked a restaurant, I'm going to tell you how it went. And so for me, like, I never really had a platform to discuss like a broader range of things, because Instagram stories is like a minute. But having a platform like this where we can really get into things in depth and like talk about the things that like have been weighing on us or that we've always just kind of wanted to discuss, I think it's just like so perfect. So I was so down. And honestly, like, we both have our strengths, and I think we're really good at recognizing that. Like, for me, this would have never happened. We literally, and I know I've said this a million times already, but we'd be like on 2 of her kitchen chairs or 2 of my kitchen chairs with a ring light and my phone camera.
No.
Literally.
I'm a little extra.
Yes. And then she was, it's a good balance, because she was like, well, I want to do this, and I'm going to get a coffee table, and I'm going to get chairs, I'm going to get this and that. And in my mind, I'm just going cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. But after like it all kind of came together and she like explained everything, like I was just like, oh, she's not just wanting to do a little podcast. She's wanting to, like, she's thinking bigger. She has a bigger vision. And it came together so beautifully. Yeah. Like, seriously, I'm so impressed by it. And then... Yeah, but me on the other end, I'm really good on the technical side, like figuring out the software.
Yes.
Figuring out.
Porque yo soy bien atrabancada, like, y tú, you have more structure, you're just more organized. Yeah. Organized. And I'm like, let's get this shit done, and vámonos, a lo que vinimos,
A lo que te truche.
A lo que te trujo chencha or whatever. I don't know. My mom used to say that.
Yeah, and so for me, I like to want to make sure that I fully understand things before going forward with it, right? Like with the software. Mm-hmm. In the software that was like, okay, well, I just went ahead and purchased it. And in my mind, I was like, okay, we're going to need it. But we never sat down to play with it. It was just like, hey, she bought it, and then like, okay, we'll figure it out as we go. Turns out we didn't actually need it. We needed a different type of software. Yeah. And so the other one isn't completely obsolete, but the one that I really dug in and did research on and was like, this right here is really what we're going to be.
Which the other software isn't bad at all.
It's just not what we need.
But it's not what we needed. And like I said, I'm very impulsive, and I just, I just had to take a step back and be like, quit fucking doing shit without consulting first. But I'm just like, I'm gonna.
It's a learning experience, though, too.
For sure,
right?
For sure.
And so, but I mean, we're just so excited because, we've always said about like how, and I know you think it's gross, but like being a fly on the wall in our conversations, right? Like,
flies are disgusting.
I think we're freaking hilarious, and I think that we have a lot to offer.
Yes.
And I think between like your I don't give a shit attitude and my, like, I'm going to give you my opinion type of attitude, I think we just are really well-rounded. And also, I don't think there's enough representation for people like us. Yeah. So obviously, like, this episode hasn't had a lot, but like, we're Mexican and we love being Mexican. Yeah. We embrace our culture. We literally go to Mexico all the time. Yeah. We speak Spanglish.
Yes.
Like, every other word is Spanish. And so, it's a whole vibe. It's so much fun. And I don't feel like there's enough people like that out there.
Yeah.
That are also can identify, or not identify, but like relate to us, where we're full-time moms, we're full-time working, we're a full-time default parent, where we're running our household. We cook, 90% of the time?
All
like
fucking time. I have
all the time.
I have a whole freaking herd in my house. Like,
that's kind of like the purpose of this. So now we kind of told them a little bit about like what, how everything came about. Like, why don't you tell them a little bit about like yourself and your background?
So I am 40 years old. I have 6 kids in total. I have his, hers, and ours. I have four boys. I had 5. My second passed away. And I always like to acknowledge him because he was a person. I always acknowledge him. So anyways, I had 5 boys in total. And my husband has 2 daughters, and we have one together. So we're very busy. I also yes, I also make salsas on the side. So if you ever need some salsa, let me know. I will hook you up. I also do hair. Here in Odessa, Texas, I work at LaBelle Salon on Fodry. I just love making people feel better about themselves, and that brings so much joy to me because, when somebody gets in there and they're like, man, I let myself go. I, need you to fix me up. Do whatever you want, especially with those that say do whatever you want. I'm just like, yes.
It's like your playground.
and so when I do and they absolutely love it and they give me a hug and they're just like almost in tears because they're so happy with their hair, like that makes me feel like so freaking good.
$1,000,000.
Yeah. And so, I take pride in everything I do. I'm a natural born hustler. My grandma raised me well, and I'm just so excited for this new journey and for what's to come. We're going to be discussing life events, life occurrences, like awkward moments, so many things. Icks. Oh my God. That's going to be a fun one.
So hilarious. I'm 34 years old, and I've been married now for 6 years, 7 years? But
it feels like forever.
The marriage or the memory just came up on my Facebook of where me and Manuel have been together for 17 years. He asked me to be his girlfriend 17 years ago. I know. So we've been together a long time, and we now have 3 kids, and we have got 1 on the way. So I'm super busy as well. I work full time. I'm a corporate America, and I have a background in HR and talent acquisition. And then I also have a bachelor's degree in psychology. So for me, one thing I know is people. And I love people and the mind and like what makes people do what they do. And even though sometimes I think like, what the heck were you thinking? I really enjoy it. I love to get to know people. I love to get to know about their families and things like that. So, I'm excited to be able to just share the things that cross my brain, with everybody because, I'm not afraid to give an unpopular opinion. And I mean, and you know that.
Yeah, me either.
So well. Where, and even her and I have had
disagreements.
Where it's been like, I really don't think you should do that. Or I don't think that was really the best way to go about
and
it.
I don't take it offensive. Like, I don't, because you know what? At the end of the day, I know she's just looking out for me. And then I stop and think and really like put 2 and 2 together per se. And I'm like, okay, she makes sense. Like, she's right.
Consider it.
Oh, yeah. And we just balance each other out so much. So that's why, you're just my person.
Oh, I know. I'll never get tired of hearing that. So, I mean, as she was saying earlier, we're really going to be making an effort to like engage our community too. So, like as far as like icks, right? Like we're going to have one of our top 3 releases, or our first 3 releases is going to be about icks, right? But our icks aren't the only ones that we want to hear about.
Yeah.
Right.
And we'll have way more icks on, different episodes and stuff because.
But we also want y'all's submissions.
Yeah.
Right? Like what's an ick that we haven't talked about that you have?
Yeah.
Right? Or maybe like if we do like confessionals, like what's something that nobody knows about you, and if like you don't feel comfortable sending it to my Instagram or on your Instagram name, send it to her.
Yeah,
because it's all going to be anonymous. We want to talk about it. We want to engage. We want to be fun. We want to be able to be the escape for you, or not escape, but like a distraction, right? Like pones música para limpiar. But then one time a week, like give us an hour and put us on while you're cleaning.
It'll be fun. We will not disappoint. We're going to be discussing, like I said, anything and everything. If you have awkward moments, one night stands, like the juicier, the better. Yeah. We will be linking our emails. You can always direct messages on Instagram on TikTok, wherever you follow us, and submit all your juicy gossip or even just whatever's happened to you that you want to share with us, to even receive consejos, like advice, because I mean, we're not psychologists or anything, but we can try and
so that we can give you advice that you're not going to take.
Advice that sometimes we don't even take.
Yes, but we're going to give you good advice. Don't get me
we're
wrong.
going to try to, for sure.
So follow us on all the platforms. On all platforms, we are at Andale Pues Podcast. So, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. All of our episodes are going to be uploaded to YouTube. So even if you don't have, Spotify or Apple Podcasts, anything like that, you can always just be on YouTube. And you can watch us on YouTube too, and like our facial expressions. And
because we have them.
Seriously, like our faces don't lie.
Of them.
So, all right. Well, thanks so much for tuning into our first episode, and we look forward to a long, fun journey together.
Yes, and I hope you guys have just as much fun as we do.
All right.
Bye.